It was supposed to be just another jog. The sky was still a sleepy gray as Emma's sneakers crunched along the gravel path by the riverbank. The early morning air clung to her skin with the crispness of autumn, and the world was mostly quiet, just the rhythm of her breath and the distant hum of the town slowly waking up. She ran this trail every morning, the river a faithful companion to her daily ritual. But this morning, something was different. A faint, desperate cry pierced the silence. Emma stopped, pulled out her earbuds, and listened. It came again, a high-pitched mewing, thin and weak. She turned toward the water, scanning the grassy slope and muddy edges. Her eyes caught a flicker of movement, a tiny, soaked kitten clinging to a piece of driftwood, its paws barely holding on, its eyes wide with terror. Without thinking, Emma kicked off her shoes, waded into the freezing river, and pushed through the current. The water bit at her legs, but she didn't care. All that mattered was getting to that tiny creature before it slipped beneath the surface. With trembling hands, she lifted the kitten from the driftwood, cradling its shivering body to her chest. Then she noticed it. Around the kitten's neck was a collar, too tight, clearly not meant for such a small animal. Attached to it was a small, rusted locket. Emma waded back to shore, the kitten pressed to her chest, its cries quieter now. She wrapped it in her jacket and held it close. Curiosity mixed with confusion as she gently opened the locket. Inside was a faded photograph of a little girl, no more than 5, smiling brightly with her arms wrapped around what looked like a tiny version of the very same kitten. On the back of the photo, scrawled in childish handwriting, were the words, "Take care of Lucky. Love, Maddie." Emma stared at the kitten, then back at the photo, and her heart sank. Someone had loved this kitten once. Deeply. She rushed home, wrapping Lucky in warm towels, feeding it tiny spoonfuls of milk, and calling the vet. The little creature was dehydrated and underweight, but with care, it would survive. As Lucky slowly recovered over the next few days, Emma couldn't shake the mystery. Who was Maddie? How had Lucky ended up alone in the river? She posted photos online, shared the story on community pages, and called nearby shelters. Most leads went cold. Some comments praised her for saving the kitten, others speculated about abandonment or tragedy. But one message stood out, a private note from an elderly woman named Grace. Grace explained that Maddie had been her granddaughter. 5 years ago, Maddie had been in a terrible car accident with her parents. Only she and the kitten survived. Maddie had begged her grandmother to take care of Lucky during her hospital stay. But during a chaotic move and a series of miscommunications, Lucky had somehow slipped away. They'd searched for days, even posted flyers. But as the years passed, they assumed the kitten was gone, lost to the wild or worse. Emma's eyes filled with tears as she read Grace's words. "I thought I failed her," Grace wrote. "I thought I let her down." Emma arranged to meet Grace in person. When she brought Lucky to the house, wrapped in a fresh blanket, Grace's hands trembled as she reached out. The kitten looked up, blinked slowly, and let out the tiniest mew. In that moment, something unspoken passed between them, recognition, maybe even forgiveness. Grace kissed the top of Lucky's head, her eyes glistening. Maddie would be so happy. "Thank you." Emma stayed for tea. They talked for hours, sharing stories about Maddie, about loss and healing, about the strange ways life brings things full circle. As the sun began to set, Emma stood to leave, but Grace reached for her hand. "You didn't just save a kitten," she said softly. "You gave me a piece of my granddaughter back." Emma walked home that night with a warmth in her chest that no autumn chill could touch. In the days that followed, Emma kept in touch with Grace and often visited Lucky, who had begun to put on weight and play again. Grace even gave Emma the locket, saying it belonged with the person who brought Lucky home. Emma hung it in her apartment window, where it caught the light just right, every morning. Sometimes life offers no explanation for the paths we cross, the people we meet, or the hearts we help mend. But sometimes, all it takes is one small act of compassion, a moment of listening to a cry in the silence, to change everything. Emma had gone for a jog. And come back with a story that would live in her heart forever.